Did you know America has an expiration date? Literally a deadline for her survival. I'll say that again. There is an expiration date assigned in the heavens that is applicable and applies to America. And when this date hits, it's over for America. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but what I'm going to give you today is by the Spirit. It is a prophecy. I know I'm losing some of you. Listen, what I'm going to give you today, you already know. That's what's crazy. You will be able to say, yeah, I know that, Steve. Yeah, I know that. Wow. And you're going to see things stuck together in a way you've never seen it before. You will have heard this only here, at least first. That's the way it always goes for this channel. Before I get started and tell you what you need to hear, folks, this is crazy. Before I get started, this is not that message that I mentioned in the last message. I said you're going to want to buckle up for that message that's coming. Yeah, I was trying to warn you ahead of time. This is not that message. That message is taking me so long to do. It's still a month out at least a month out. So in the meantime, I thought, why not come and give you some things God is giving me right now? And I feel pressed to give you this message today. A word of warning before I start. If you think America has decades to go, if you don't believe that this is the end time, that this is the last days, that there are brighter days to come, we're not about to head into wars and rumors of and that kind of thing. That, you know, the 70th week isn't imminent upon us. Then this is not your channel. Many of you are all familiar with, so thank God I don't got to start teaching on this, what a Jubilee cycle is, a 50-year cycle. You're familiar with this. This is biblical. This goes back to the Old Testament. You understand how these things work. I'm hoping you do. But here's a little synopsis. Basically what it is, God came up with 50-year cycles. This is applicable, so you're going to want to hear. He came up with 50-year cycles, and these were at the end there'd be a Jubilee year, and these are basically 50-year cycles or Jubilee cycles as they're called. At the end of these, cycles, these periods, God would reevaluate. He would look at it pertained to Israel, basically. It had to do with his land and Israel, his kids, his children. And at the end, he would reevaluate, and basically what it came down to is if they were doing good and they kept the Sabbaths and all this kind of thing, they would continue on another Jubilee cycle. Some cases, these cycles were back to back, and they did good. In some cases, and it's kind of interesting, how he would let it go an extra cycle or two, I don't know why, and then eventually Israel was kicked out of the land, and the land got to enjoy her Sabbaths. This is kind of how it went. Because that was the alternative to if you weren't doing good, if you weren't serving God and you weren't keeping his laws and commandments, he'd bring judgment upon his kids, folks. That's just the way it went. That's it in a nutshell. And they would get kicked out of their land. And there's lots of okay. So that's it. That's the story of 50-year cycles, these Jubilee cycles that God came up with, and many of you already understand all this, right? So I got to teach on it. Thank God for that. Though I do a little bit of teaching, but listen, here's the point I want to bring out. This is applicable still today. This is still applicable. And you will know what I'm about to tell you. Many of you, you're going to hear what the Spirit is saying. Let me show you. These 50-year cycles have got to have been seen recently here with Israel. If you'll note, where Israel started to come back to its land, where they came back and were starting to be gathered together again, goes all the way back to 1917. Many of you are already aware. The Balfour Declaration, made by the British government at that point, came up with what was called the Balfour Declaration. This was 1917. They started coming back to the land. Remember these dates, these times, these years. 1923, they came up with a British mandate. The government, again, made what was called the British Mandate, which lasted until 1948, that mandate was to make sure that there was a place for the Jews to come in, even though Palestine, which that's what it was called, wasn't happy with it. So the Jews are coming back in the land in 1917 that would be their land. Then you got 50 years later, what? That became the Six-Day War, 1967, correct? Right? 50 years later, 1917 and 1967. You also got, interestingly enough, same thing over the... So the British Mandate comes in, 1923. 50 years later, the Yom Kippur War, that was recently celebrated, mind you, again by Hamas. July 4th, 1776. This is where it gets crazy. Will be the 50th. That's a lot of fives. Will be the 50th Jubilee cycle, I should say it, 50th cycle in 2026. That will also be a 250-year marker, or the fifth 50-year cycle, if you want to look at that. And for those of you that are really running even farther with this, I want to tell you what these 50-year cycles are. They are periods of grace. And that is the number. That's why it's 50. And that's why we're talking 5 fives or 5 50-year cycles. There's a lot of fives, folks, I'm putting in front of your face. Grace. America has experienced grace. Listen, when I first came to YouTube, there was only one person I heard talking about a civil war. And the man, which I don't want to give his name, he's prophetic. But he said this war will be successful. There will be a new America. I'm telling you, no. When we hit our 50th, here's something to ask. I said, God, is there anything else? I was getting ready to get the message, and God brought back to my mind, because is there anything else? Boom. I had always heard, you folks are familiar, I did a 4-part television show with Danny Davis. It's on this channel. Danny Davis is one of the I've only known 2 people that were caught out of their body, literally caught out of their body to see the end of the world. John Paul Jackson and Danny Davis was one of them. And Danny Davis, when I did the show, talking with him, he said he called a segment to where he's out of his body and he's looking at America, and he called it his vision, went from color to black and white. He said he called that duration from black and white, he called it grace removed.
Grace. I called it grace removed. Grace removed. And from that point forward, when you read the book, I wrote the vision.
Yeah.
I don't talk as much about that final phase of what I saw, because it happened fast. In other words, once you withdrew grace was removed from the circumstances. Let me tell you something, it snowballed, and it snowballed fast, and the things I saw, it just was almost too horrendous to even describe. The death and destruction and the calamities I was seeing, it was just like I knew from that point forward in that vision, there wasn't going to be an America anymore.
America dies by violence. Do you know that? That's what Revelation says. Thus with violence shall that great city be thrown down. That's what I know is coming next. Some of you are saying, where's first trumpet? I'm going to start giving you what God gives me. This is by the Holy Spirit. So I'm prophesying to you, 2026, there is no more. America has reached her expiration date. There is no more America. It's over. The period of grace is gone. And when grace is removed, you all can answer this. What happens? Judgment. There is no more grace. And it all made sense when I remembered what Danny said. Let me tell you something else, and I'm going to end with this. We got to see the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. I watched it. In fact, there were people that started emailing me, people posting YouTube videos saying what they believed it meant. Yes, Francis Scott wrote the national anthem. As if you listen to the song, people are talking about the lyrics. Let me tell you the lyrics that do matter. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? And I would say, no. Try waving a flag these days. Try waving an Israeli flag these days. The takeaway is simply this. America has collapsed. That's the in-your-face takeaway. Now, you may see there's more, but I'm going to tell you America has collapsed. That flag no longer waves. What united us no longer does. We are divided, and a nation and a kingdom that is divided against itself shall not stand. Like the bridge, America is collapsing. There is an expiration date that cannot be prayed away. Our time is up.